Mosaic is a typical large mining company. The company started off in the USA. It's grown to Canada, and then very quickly it started going into many international locations. In a matter of 17 years, it's a company, it's a well-known Fortune 500 company now. The interesting thing about Mosaic is we're not only a mining company, we mine our own resources, and then we send that to our own chemical plants, and we produce our own chemicals and fertilizers, which we then distribute to the rest of the world. The challenge with the mining industry, it's not a cookie cutter situation. Most mines are put together by acquisitions. It always grows, reduces. Everyone have its own culture depending where you come from. So it's really a challenge in these environments. When you talk about security or the physical security, people immediately think guards and guns or force protection. But little do they know the valuable data that physical security team have to their exposure. It's not a cookie cutter scenario, but all this valuable data that the physical security department have is what I'm going to try and explain today, and also how that fit into our plan with Alert Enterprises and how that became a force multiplier, and with procurement, HR, and several other departments. One of the major problems we had in Mosaic was, as the name suggests, it's a mosaic of access control systems, but also it's a mosaic of companies, because Mosaic was put together by several different medium and small companies that were acquired and all amalgamated. As you know, in physical security, the access control systems is one of the main focus points on sites. Obviously, you have to control access to most of your areas. And the problem was every company that Mosaic integrated with, or that they bought up to form Mosaic, had its own hardware and software system that they used. Now, to replace something like that across the board for a company the size of Mosaic costs a lot of money. It's a significant amount of money. And being a mining company, security is often the last piece that they look at, depending on where they work in the world. But as it may be, they just decided to use every little company that they acquired system as is. So we had Mosaic put together with a group of companies. And then when you go and dig down into the access control system, everyone had its own little system that they brought to the table, and it was just maintained. It's a phenomenal task for our identity specialists to work across the board with all those different systems. So we had to come up with a good requirement for technology to put us in the future, as many mining companies are moving rapidly into the future, to come up with a good return of investment, demonstrating that. It's a challenge, especially if you're working in the security environment. It's not easy. Production comes always first in a mining company, obviously safety too, but it's hard to explain something like that. One of the big requirements that we needed in Mosaic is we didn't want to rip and replace any of our hardware that we currently have. We recognize that that is going to be a lot of cost associated to it. It's something that's almost impossible. We won't get buy-off from our senior leadership. So the technology's major point was we didn't want to rip and replace any hardware. We want to use what's in place. The system needed to be cost effective. The system platform needed to be versatile enough to benefit other departments. We didn't want to go down this road and it is something that's only for the security group. We wanted a platform that everyone can use that platform. It's very frustrating in the company when every group have its own system that they work, multiple systems that they work for. You have to log in here, log in there. Yes, you have single sign-on, but nothing is easily on one dashboard where you can get to it effectively. With the coronavirus coming up, the company really needed to quickly come up with a solution to have people safely go onto sites during COVID. And we can't stop our mining operations. You know, we're an essential service. We feed the world with the fertilizer they need. Because of Mosaic, companies are being put together and the different platforms procurement use, it was very hard between employees, temporary employees, contractors, visitors, to have one source of truth and one identity across the company. You have all these thousands of identities, and we didn't have an effective way to track these identities that were created across the board with different companies. We wanted a platform that can serve as the source of truth and easily integrate with other platforms and softwares out there. We didn't want to get a platform, and if technology changes and we want to upgrade or get something new, Now we need to buy another dashboard and integrate with something else. So we wanted a versatile platform that can accommodate everything through an API or some easily integratable function. What did we do for our security technology selection? Carry the security department. It needed to be something that can carry us into the future for the next 10 years at least. Because of Mosaic's different sites with the different cultures, it's very hard to implement change. And I'm sure in many other mining companies, it's the same. It's very hard to implement change. So it needed to be something that we do once and we can live with it for many years afterwards. The technology of the future for Mosaic obviously was alert enterprises. And that is due to the platform's utilization of a soft backend, as they call it. So a soft backend in layman's term is it can accept many different APIs. It acts like a translator between the different software packages that we have out there. So you can almost plug any function into Alert Enterprise through an API or a little bit of coding interface, and you can have it all in the same dashboard. Very simplified. I'm not an IT specialist, but I can use the platform fairly easily, creating a workflow and make our access control work across the board. The system workability was very important. You'd have to integrate with our HR system, with our ISNet procurement, all the different access control systems we have. We wanted to hire and retire someone from beginning to end through HR. And we wanted to have the capability to link our EHS systems with it and procurement. Procurement was a big deal for Mosaic because we have all these contractors that come onto site. Contractor will come onto site for 2 or 3 hours, but they give us a bill for all day. It was very hard for us to prove them wrong. You know, you have one access location, but because of the mine area, there's many access points that we don't necessarily have access control unless you are in a very high risk location where you must have those. So it was very hard. You know, we pay almost $1 billion a year on contractor costs, work done across the enterprise in North America, but we all know there that our invoices are very inaccurate. So if we can make our invoices just 10% more accurate with our access control system and identity management, it would save us a lot of money. So that was another big item for us for selecting Alert Enterprise, because they can fully integrate with Maximo, ISNet, the Mosaic Information Center that we have ourselves. The other thing was it needed to be easy, usable so that our guards can use it. It needed to be very simple, very easy to use, but also then you have the back end where you can do more complicated taskings. That was one of our real key criteria for selecting Alert Enterprise and seeing the system work. In technical aspects, we can connect Alert Enterprise to Concur, which we use to book our travel. The system can automatically recognize where you book your travel to, and it will add that access control identity to your ID badge. We also managed to do away with all 5 or 6 ID cards that you had that needed to work across the board with the different systems. Now you have just one ID card and it functions with Lenel, Honeywell, Winpack, Cantech, all of them. You just need one card because Alert works like a translator almost between these different systems. It enables these different software packages to talk to each other very effectively. We all know how difficult COVID has been on the business industry, but for us on our mission, this was the ideal opportunity to kick this project off. COVID acted like the springboard for the project. And lo and behold, we actually managed to save about $4 million per year with Alert Enterprises just due to the automation. Why? How did this happen? All our locations, when COVID just started, we had to do temperature screen. In the USA, the CDC recommended you need to have temperature checks before you enter into a facility. So we had to get a medical company at first, and then we convert that to the guards once they had enough training to do temperature checks. A lot of our sites are very busy. We had to hire additional security staff and medical staff just to do the COVID mitigation. It costed us in excess of $4 million across the board to do this exercise with the temperature checks. And just by simply installing Alert Enterprise and automating that with thermal cameras to do the temperature checks and linking that to the access control system, once the system is installed, it's almost overnight that you save all that capital, all that money that you have to spend on temperature screenings. Automating all our sites, we have many sites across the board, but everywhere where we've installed Alert and the thermal cameras, with the automation are very successful. We have very good feedback on it, the simplicity of it. So we're very happy about that so far. Automation software being deployed further allowed for guard positions or hours reductions in some areas. For example, we have times late at night or early mornings where we don't have much traffic, but yet we have a full-time guard occupying those hours. In the USA, I'm sure in many parts of the world, we pay about $160,000 per year for a full-time 24/7 guard position. So just by reducing the hours, by using Alert Enterprise, integrating that with video camera, microphones, and GSOC that can monitor these areas, operating a gate by the press of a button with the automation, helped us to reduce some of those guard areas. So we didn't need to have a guard at those graveyard times anymore. So that again adds to the return of investment. And that's in a nutshell my presentation today. All righty. Thank you.